You are watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, bringing you your daily dose of business and technology to educate, empower, and inspire small business owners. Be sure to subscribe to the show today.
Good morning, all my Gwinnetians out there in Gwinnett land and all of my friends around the world. It's a beautiful day here in Gwinnett County. Right now, it's a little chilly, going up to a high of 54, so we're going to have a great day. No rain in the forecast right now, but yesterday it poured down like cats and dogs, so I'm glad that you guys are here today. Listen, we are streaming live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I forgot Instagram yesterday. Sorry, Instagram, I forgot you guys. Instagram is not to stream the Instagram from where we're streaming from. It's not as simple as when I'm streaming to all of the other platforms. Amazon, they started to do some kind of janky stuff, so they're trying to figure out the problem with them, because normally we're streaming to Amazon Live too, which is pretty cool, but for some reason they changed something. You know, these big companies are always changing stuff. We don't really know when they're going to change it. We used to stream to Amazon with no problem, and the last couple of streams, no stream. So we're gonna get Amazon back on board as soon as they can figure out what the problem is. But again, I'm excited today. Another great guest today talking about AI. Listen, y'all know I love all of this stuff. Y'all know I love AI. Y'all know I love tech. Y'all know I love gadgets. Speaking of gadgets, listen, I'm gonna be giving away for the rest of this month, which is February. This is a robot, right? So I think if you guys didn't see the show yesterday, my husband, I like gadgets. I'm a gadget girl. We even got the baby a robot for Christmas. So the baby got a robot. She knew she had a robot. I bought my robot and hid it in the closet, right? Because I'm not supposed to buy gadgets because I buy too many. So I'm a gadget chick. I'm a tech chick. I'm that person. So I bought me a robot and I pulled it out yesterday for the first time. But here's the thing. I'm also a giver. So for the rest of this month, my birthday is Tuesday. So for the rest of this month, I'm going to be putting your name inside of a drawing so someone can win a robot like mine, and I'm going to give it to you. So, but you got to go and you got to subscribe to the newsletter. So go to goodmorninggwinnett.com, hit the button, say subscribe. Good Morning Gwinnett, scrolling across the bottom right there. Hit the button up on the website that says subscribe. When you subscribe, you get entered into a drawing, and at the end of this month, which is a leap year, did you guys know it was leap year? Yeah, this is a leap year. We got 29 days this month. On February 29th, I'm going to pull a name out the bag, and that person is going to win the robot. And I'm going to be doing this every month with something, some kind of gadget. Now, let me just say this real quick. I'm not saying this is going to be March, but it may be. The Echo Show. If you don't know what the Echo Show is, it is really cool, right? So I won Echo Show 2 years ago at PodFest. We were at PodFest. We had a huge giveaway. I won the Echo Show. And I love the Echo Show, but here's the thing. My husband took it and put it on his side of the bed. So I don't have one on my side. Now, it's mine, but it's on his side of the bed. Well, we recently found out that you can take your Ring, the Ring doorbell, and attach it to the Echo Show. So when somebody shows up at the front door, all you have to do is say to the Echo Show, Alexa, who's at the front door? And the person pops up on the Echo Show. I thought that was so cool. So, of course, I got excited about that. But maybe in March, maybe I'll give away an Echo Show. I don't know yet. It depends. But anyway, I got a great guest this morning. Her name is Dr. Jean Hess. She is a certified AI consultant. I didn't even know they had those. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. What is a certified AI consultant, and how do you become one? But then we're going to talk about ethics in AI, because a lot of people are really concerned about how fast AI is growing, how ethical it's going to be. Some of the tools are amazing. They can duplicate you, your voice, your children, your dog, your cat. They're just that. I'm exaggerating. Y'all. So just maybe not, though. I'm not sure. We're going to talk to Dr. Jean and find out, am I exaggerating, or can this really be done? So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage Dr. Jean Hess.
Hey, good morning, Audrey. How are you this morning? The day that they can replicate my dog, I'm in really big trouble. So there you go. And I'll tell you why. I have taught my dog how to sing. So if I have more than one dog, not only are they going to sing, but then I'll have to teach them harmony. And I don't know if I'm up to that. So let's hope that they can't duplicate my dog anytime soon.
Wait a minute. You taught the dog how to sing? How did you teach the dog how to sing?
So the doctor in Dr. Jean is, I do an awful lot with behavior. And so I teach my dog all sorts of really cool things. So I have one of those really cool sidewalks that, jig jags up, and then And when I say sidewalk, she doesn't cut across. It's not the straightest line from where she is to the door. It's sidewalk, and she goes the whole sidewalk. I teach her all sorts of crazy things. So I taught her to sing. I'm a
Wow.
singer, so she sings with me. Sometimes she'll come to me, in the evening. I'm in my chair at the end of a very long day, finally in my chair, and she'll come over and she'll stand in front of me and bark, 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 and her tail is going, bark, 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 and her tail is going. So we sing, 10:30, 11, whenever. It's
Oh,
fun.
that's so cool. So listen, this is Dr. Jean, the dog song whisperer. That's
There you go.
the singing dog whisperer. I just
That's
gave her a
me.
new
Well, the
title,
dog whisperer in general.
the dog whisperer. Okay, I think
I
somebody
am.
got that one right. That's what's
Yeah.
his name? What's the guy name who's a dog whisperer?
I have no idea. I don't watch TV. I train my dog and I play with AI. I don't have time for TV.
Ah, she plays with. I do watch a little TV. I watch more now than I've ever watched before. Well, since I've been an entrepreneur, which has been 27 years, I watch a little bit more now because if I don't, my brain won't shut down. So I have to watch something that makes me shut down. Otherwise, I'm constantly in thought mode and it never stops. And then I can't go to sleep because I'm taking notes on my phone, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I watch a
So
little bit
guess
more
what
than I
woke
used
me
to.
up this morning, Audrey? This
Hmm.
morning, my brain woke up and said, "You're going to be on Good Morning Gwinnett. Did you remember blah, blah, blah?" And I didn't. So guess what I did? I grabbed my phone, I grabbed ChatGTP, and I blah, 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 and now here it comes. I'm like, that's the piece that was missing. So today, you are getting information I have not shared anywhere else about AI ethics because my brain woke up this morning in thought mode. I love that.
Yeah, well, that's me every morning. Like I try to wake up a little bit early so I can have like quiet for a second. And the minute I have about 5 minutes of just quieting my brain when I first wake up. And then after that, it's game on after that for the rest of the day until I shut down. And I try to shut down around 5, 6 o'clock when my husband gets home. But there have been plenty of times when he goes, "Hey," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming." Like that's me. But anyway, so Dr. Jean, tell us, how did you get the doctor in Dr. Jean?
So the doctor and Dr. Jean, I taught K-12 public school special education for a super long time. And my son was born. I was 11 years into teaching emotionally disturbed, behaviorally disordered children. Wow, let me just say, there's a lot of behavior that goes on there.
Yeah.
And when my son was born and I took off for maternity leave, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm,
I'm tired of my tires being slashed. I'm tired of them trying to break into my house. So, they're behavior kids.
yeah.
It's just part of the job. I'm tired of being called really bad names all day long. So,
Wow. About children.
my children, well, they have disabilities. I made
Yeah.
amazing strides with so many of them, but I was just tired. I was done. So I decided, all right, so I want to be home. I want to be sane and all together. What can I do? Wow. So people who do what I did, K-12, usually only last about 3 to 5 years working with the kind of behavior kids that I worked with. And so I said, what if I teach other people how to do what I do? So I got a
Mm.
doctorate in special education so that I could teach teachers how to be the very best that they could be. I really liked that a lot. It was great. That was
That's so cool. My brother has a master's in special ed, and there's not a lot of men in that space. That was interesting to find out too, because whenever he
yeah.
applied for a job, it was like come, 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 because there just weren't a lot of men in that space, especially African American men. So it was even less of those.
Mhm.
But what he said to me one time was, he said, "Well, not all the kids are bad. They're just not. Some of them are really, really smart." So he had this one, and I'm never going to forget this one kid. He had one, he was in the eighth grade, and he said to me, "This kid is so smart." So he had to figure out why he was so bad. He was so bad because he was so smart. So he was bored.
He
So
was
my
bored.
brother would go to the computer lab and get all the computers and tell him to fix the computers. As long as he was fixing computers, he was great. And I was like, wow. So he
Yeah.
discovered that the kids they have behavior issues for different reasons other than just being bad. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty
I
interesting.
and I absolutely understand that. I had a student who walked in day one and said, this is my 33rd school. I will be gone by Christmas.
Wow. He knew that.
He knew that. Guess what? I had him for 4 years. He didn't go anywhere. And you want
Wow.
to know why?
Why?
I treated him ethically. Isn't that a
Mm,
nice segue? So
yeah.
many of the kids that I worked with, especially in that whole emotional behavioral disorder sort of corner of the world, didn't have respect. Nobody
Mm,
respected them. They
yeah.
weren't respected for the that they might have a chance to make their own choices. Everybody was making choices for them. And so it was this whole power over thing where there was always an adult telling them what to do. I didn't care what order things got done during the day. So do you want to do math? Do you want to do science? What are we going to do right now? Oh, all right, cool. I was ready. I was good. My plans were ready for the day. As long as we ticked the whole checklist, it didn't matter to me. And that was so new for them. That was, they hadn't thought about it. So I totally get what your brother's saying, and I walked it. And then when my son was born, I was working on my doc, and he was going to kindergarten, and I got a phone call one day, and they said I wasn't Dr. Jean yet. So it was Miss Jean. I lived in the South at the time, so you understand. Everybody
Yeah.
says Miss
Miss,
whoever, right?
that's right.
Miss Jean, we need to. I'm in Chicago now, so I don't get it here. We need to talk to you. We think maybe your son needs to be evaluated for special ed. And I was like, evaluated? I'm working on my doctorate. I'm like 3 months away from walking down, and get my degree. And can you imagine being that person? He has autism, and we didn't know
Wow.
it. I didn't know
Really?
it. Yeah. Hmm.
Wow. So his autism, because I've seen a bunch of kids on the spectrum, they all do something. Even those kids, like you have some kids that are just out. I watched the story of Temple Grandin. My
Hmm.
daughter was in college and she said, "You got to watch the story of Temple Grandin. You're gonna love it." Right? And I
I've
said,
met
"Really?
Temple.
Did you?"
Yeah, I made a difference in her life, so she remembers me. That's cool. I'll tell you
Wow.
that story in a minute.
Okay. If you guys have never seen the story of Temple Grandin, when I saw that story, I was like, that's amazing. And my daughter saw it in college and told me, you got to watch it. You will love it. It was just amazing to see how brilliant she was.
She
Right.
is.
Also,
Present tense. She's still brilliant.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but then to see the other side, that don't
Mhm.
touch me side. And because
Mhm.
she didn't want people to touch her, she created that invention that hugged her. I was like, I was so blown away. And I saw that it had to be, oh my God, probably
It
15
was a
years
while
ago or
ago.
something. It was a
Yeah.
long
While
time.
ago.
But
Mhm.
just to see how their minds think and how they do things. Like I have we have a friend, he have two autistic kids. And one of them, you put something electric in his hand, he won't move. And the other one is a little bit more social than that one. His brother, he's a little bit more social. But both of them like technology stuff. Like you put tech in their hands and they're good. Good.
Yep.
So you
So
met
I'm
Temple?
fond of saying if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism.
Yeah.
So when you meet the next person with autism, you need to get to know that person
Yeah.
because they tick differently. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun stuff. That's what I do. That's what I do.
One of my favorite shows, and I do watch this one on a regular basis, is The Good Doctor. Like I love that show. You never watched that show?
I don't watch TV. I haven't in 25 years, so I've missed a lot. So
Dr.
no.
Jean, if you get a chance, if you just want to break down one day and watch one show, watch The Good Doctor.
All right, I'll
He
do that.
he's brilliant on that show. He's brutally honest because he is autistic, right? But he lives a halfway normal life as a outstanding, amazing doctor
There
who
you go.
just think of things in his head and bring. I love that show,
I'm
just to see
fond
how
of
he
telling
thinks.
people that because 1 in 8 people has autism, it could be your dentist, your bank teller,
Yep.
your car mechanic, your doctor, your neighbor, your child, your nephew,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. 1 in 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that for 1 second, then we're gonna get into the AI ethics. So
I'm ready.
back in the day when we didn't know what autism was, right? We just knew that there were these kids and everybody was labeled special ed, which in reality now looking forward, they were not. When did they decide to draw the line between special ed and autism to separate the two?
So that's a beautiful question. So um, I can give you the long version, the short version. I'm going to give you the short version. The
Okay.
short version is that the federal law that labels individuals in school ages 3 to 21 added autism in 1995 or 97, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So if you look at the rate of identification of individuals with autism compared to when education started identifying autism, you'll see that the straight line up is the same. So not many, and then all of a sudden, right? So my
Right.
son was born on that front edge of people recognizing that autism was a thing. So all sorts of amazing things have happened in our life, and I am who I am. I've been an advocate for my entire adult life for kids with special needs, and I started teaching before it was accepted as a disability label in schools. And so I have fought for all sorts of kids and families for a very long time. And he and I would go out in the community and we'd get these looks. The older he got, the more autistic he looks. I saw him this Sunday and here we go. We're out in public. I don't stop my life because my son has autism.
Yeah.
And so I have battled people telling me he doesn't belong wherever we are. I have battled people saying, well, what's wrong with your kid? Why don't you control him? Why don't you? It's like, yeah, no, he breathes the same air. He has the same rights.
Yeah.
So until y'all figure out how he's going to breed something else, he's going to do exactly what every other child does to the best of his ability, whatever
Yeah.
that ability is. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
how I
pretty,
operate.
that's pretty cool. Now I'm gonna ask one more question, then we're gonna move on to AI ethics, AI and ethics. You said you helped Temple Grandin. What did you help her do?
So this was great. I've seen her a couple of times, and the first time I saw her, she was doing book signings. She was doing some kind of fundraiser for a school, and she came in and did like an hour and a half talk about her life. So it was like her scripting, not that she was taking lines, but she referenced her own movie and she references her own books because she's done an awful lot for the autism community and disability community in general. And so she was finished and she went to some table and she was all ready to do her thing. And it got to the point, here's Temple at the table, sign in a book, here it goes, sign in a book, here it goes, sign in a book. There's no eye contact. She was doing what she needed to do, but it wasn't personal. It was, this is what I need to do, which is, she understood the task. She was doing the task. This is
Right.
what somebody with autism, even high functioning autism, will do. So I got there and I didn't have a book. And people in the line are like, what are you doing? I had a card, not even my business card, just a blank card. And I had taken something that she had said in her presentation about things that she liked. And I knew references about those things that she hadn't mentioned. And so I had written them down and I thanked her. I wrote thank you on the card and my name. I didn't give any personally identifying information beyond my name. And she looked up, she made eye contact with me. We had like a 90-second conversation. And while she was talking to me, she reached down in her backpack and she pulled out her very old, well-worn, battered wallet and put that card in her wallet. She had that when she left. I thought it was great. I loved it. It
Yeah,
was
that is
awesome.
really cool.
So
And
I
she,
helped her. I advanced. I gave her something. So you, Audrey, as a giver, understand how cool that is, right?
yes, that's really cool. Whenever you listen, if you want to feel good about yourself, give somebody something. It just, I don't care what it
Mhm.
is. It could be a smile. If you want to feel good about yourself, give someone something. If you're feeling like down and out that day, just find somebody to give something to. I
Yeah.
got one last story, and then we're gonna move on. I was at a restaurant one time, and my husband and I frequent this restaurant all the time. There was a guy outside, and he was, I can't say he was hungry, but he was standing outside the restaurant. So when I came outside, he was standing there, and you could tell he was homeless, right? And I had my husband and I love crabs, so we had just got finished eating my favorite dish, which is crabs. I'm full, he's full, we ready to go home, and we come out and the guy's standing there. And so I'm looking at him, he didn't say a word, he didn't ask for anything. And I said to him, so we walk into the car, and I turned back, I said, are you hungry? He said, yes. I said, okay. So I go back inside, and because my husband and I go there so often, everybody knows us. So they was like, don't buy him anything, don't buy him anything. I was like, no, I have to buy him something because I'm full. He's standing outside the door. He's hungry. I'm going to buy him something. So I bought him, and my husband looking like, where you going? So he went to the car. He didn't know what I did because I just did a U-turn and went back inside of the restaurant. So I went out and I bought him a meal and I brought it to him. He just said, thank you. That made me, I was full. This guy was going to be full. I felt great. So, but I do that all the time. Like, that's just who I am. So anyway, let's get on with this AI and ethics.
I'm ready.
All right, cool. First of all, I didn't even know there was a such thing as a certified AI consultant. So what is that and how do you become one?
Yeah. So I wish I brought my affiliate link, but I didn't. So maybe I can send that to you and you can put it
Yes.
in the show notes. Is that
Yes.
okay?
That's fine.
So it's a program that started last September, and so September to December, I'm part of the first cohort that moved through this certification program with the Little Sisters, and so I will be happy to get that for you so that you can pass it on to your listeners, and they can have an opportunity to do that too. Because
Yeah.
here's what happens: you learn a lot. So I know, Audrey, that you hang out with AI a lot. So my guess is that, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put yourself in terms of knowledge? 0 being AI is something you might hear about, but you know nothing about it. And 10 is you're a programmer, large language model, generative AI developer. I'm not one of those. So I'm not on the 10 end of that scale.
I'm pretty much in the middle, leaning towards the latter end. Like I have been doing some programming, so I'm gonna say I'm around a 5.56.
Good for you.
Leaning heavily towards that side where you
Good.
really understand how to use the languages. So I'm gonna say 5.56. I'm right there.
Good for you. I'm probably at a 7 or 8 simply because I've now immersed myself. I was using AI before ChatGTP came out, so I've been using AI for probably about 5 years, maybe 6. I went
Hmm.
back into some of my stuff so I could see what I generated and different kinds of things. They were clunky, they didn't work well, they frustrated me. It took way more time to develop the content that I wanted rather than me just sitting down and doing it. And obviously, all that changed with ChatGTP, and I figured out that holy moly, I can now be the content creator that I want to be, and that's what I am. I'm an expert content creator, so I create content all day long for all sorts of people, and that makes me happy. That's my wheelhouse.
Nice, nice, nice. So well, if that's the case, if because I use pretty much I use AI for pretty much everything, and I even use AI to create podcasts for people, which which is
Absolutely,
for people who just don't want to. They know they
yeah,
need a podcast, but they don't want a
yeah,
podcast. So
I do that too.
yeah, you're right because there's
Podcast, blogs,
yeah,
social posts, research manuals,
yep,
governance policies for companies. And I believe that you had Nehemiah Thomas on yesterday. Is that true?
yes, yes,
He
I
and I are
did. He was
business
great.
he and I are business partners. So I can create all the content and he does all the automation. So when we do Start Lean Finish Big, I'm the content creator and he's the automator.
How cool is that? I did not
I
know
know. I
that.
didn't even know he was going to be here. And we had a meeting yesterday. And I said, wow, you're all dressed up. He said, yeah, I was just on Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on tomorrow.
Wow, that's so cool. Listen, Guinetians, these are the type of people that I'm bringing to you because I need you.
Yeah.
Even though this show is very hyper local in the name, it's a global international show, and so our viewers,
Yeah.
wherever you are, can watch all of these episodes. But I want to make sure that all small businesses understand that there are people out there who would do the things that they cannot do or do not want to do. There are people out there who know already how to leverage all of this great technology, to do the things that you need to get done. So Dr. Jean happens to be one of them. And Nehemiah was another one. When it comes to automation, I was loving everything. We put the wheel. Did you see the episode?
No, but I don't need to because I know what that wheel is. I write all the content to support it. So
Yes, we talked
I'm
about the
very
wheel. Like
familiar
that's a
with it.
cool wheel. Let's talk about the
Yeah,
wheel. So we talked about the wheel.
yeah,
So that's pretty darn cool. So she's gonna send the link for the AI certification. We're gonna
yeah.
drop it in the show notes. So just go to the website. Good Morning Gwinnett. Later on, after this episode is finished, and I'll drop it in there so you guys can find out more about how to become an AI
Absolutely.
certified consultant and be able to support. Because here's the thing: believe it or not, there are not a lot of AI certified consultants out there. There's not
Well,
even a lot of AI users. And as many businesses as there are, people are still deathly afraid of that. So let's talk about that for a second.
they
So
are. First,
with
let me
how,
tell you,
yeah,
there are more AI certification programs now than there were with this first one. The program is 12 weeks. You learn a whole bunch of really cool stuff, and you have to test out because it's a certification program. It's an accredited certification program. So it's
nice,
not something that says, we're here and we're going to say you're a certified AI consultant. You have to prove that you know what you know, and you get a fantastic certificate suitable for framing. So mine is, and now it's on my wall of diplomas that's nowhere visible to anybody but me. So uh, it's pretty cool. I like it.
that's pretty
Good
nice.
stuff. I will also
AI,
tell you that
yeah,
only
go ahead.
11% of businesses right now use AI. And so one of the
Wow.
tests that we're encouraged to do as AI consultants is ask people. So if you walked out of the door of your house, and your audience can do this, think about this. If you walk out the door of your house and you look at all the houses that are in your immediate neighborhood, you talk about this is hyper local, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you think in your immediate neighborhood have heard of AI or use AI? And I will tell you, I'm part of 4 chambers in my area. And when I talk about the fact that I am an AI expert, I get one of three answers. One, I'm dabbling, but I know that I don't know as much as I should. Two, I am all in. And then I'll ask them 3 questions and they figure out they're not as all in as I am. So that's always fun. And the third one is I am afraid of AI. I don't ever want to touch it. And so it's really interesting to have that be the unanimous and very common response when I ask people. I say I'm an AI, or I have it written on the hello, my name is, right, the AI consultant. And people don't know, or they don't want to know. And that's always interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. Um, so with AI growing so quick and AGI is right there. There are a lot of people who are worried about ethics, right? They're worried about their images being used, their voice being used, content being copied, and I don't honestly, Dr. Jean, I don't even know how to get around all of that because it's just out there. Like anybody can clone your voice, anybody can copy your stuff and rewrite it, make it something new. I remember back in the day when I launched my first company, we put in for a patent, right? A patent. I didn't even know that if you changed that patent, that thing 20%, it was a new thing. So
Yeah.
we had to patent a specific part of what we were patenting. So you can do all these things, but if you do this one little tiny thing, we can sue you for that, right? So we didn't even know that until we spoke to a patent attorney that said, look, they can change this 20%. It's a new thing. You have to patent that one thing. And it was like, okay, what thing? So we picked the one thing we wanted to patent on that product. So when you think about AI and like the ethics of it, like I don't even know how can we protect ourselves?
That's a great question. And I have to tell you, if you've created something with AI, no, you can't. And that's the plain and simple truth. So, the plain and simple truth is, and I studied intellectual property when I was doing my doctoral degree because I was part of my degree had to do with online education. And I needed to know if I developed this is way back in the day. There wasn't online education yet. So, I was part of my dissertation was how do you migrate learning from the classroom to the internet? That's how long ago my dissertation was. And what I learned in intellectual property is it, it's yours if it's a product of something that you have thought about. So just like you went and got your patent, it was something that you had created from your imagination and you manipulated something, whether it's words or a product materials to make a product. So this is now your patented intellectual property. When AI creates something, whether there people are doing poetry and stories and song lyrics and I ebooks, anything that you create is not your intellectual property because you didn't produce the content. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not yours. The idea for it is yours, but the output is not yours. And so you can't copyright it, and it's not your intellectual property by the definition, the strictest legal definition of intellectual property. I find that fascinating in
That
and
is
of itself.
fascinating. Yeah, it is fascinating because when you think about how much content is being produced because of AI right now, like when I look back just a year and a half ago, we were making videos, but we weren't using all of these great tools to create, chop up one video and turn it into 1,200 videos at one time
Right,
with
right.
your face in it. So are you saying that even though we're doing this video right now, if I take this
Mhm.
video and I go and put it in Opus Clips, and Opus Clips chops it up into all these 20 pieces of content, and then I go out there and post it everywhere because Opus chopped it up for me, it's no longer really mine?
I think that's a great question. That I could probably argue in a court of law, although I'm not an attorney. I am Dr. Jean, but it's not a JD, it's an EDD. So I would say, based on what I understand about intellectual property, because this is you and I talking to one another, that if you chop the clips, they're still our intellectual property because we're having the dialogue. But if we generated a script in AI and we put it into a video generator and it made some facsimile of us having a generated image, having a generated conversation that's edited in an AI generating, that's not ours. You see what I'm
Wow.
saying?
I do. So listen, y'all.
Because it was generated by an AI script. It was
Yeah.
generated in an AI video, whatever, with cloned us, not us here, but cloned us. It wouldn't belong to us.
So let me ask you this, because I use AI every day, every single day.
Mm.
Probably the only day I don't is Saturdays when I try to take off. But if I'm over there creating logos and I'm creating graphic works and I'm putting it on as my logo and it's really not my logo.
Right. Well, you can't trademark it if it was created by AI. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
You can't register it if it was created by AI.
Do you ever
Not
think that?
wholly. So if you use a tool to help you design it, then it's yours. If you say you drop in a prompt that says create a logo, blah, 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 and here are the parameters, you give it the prompt and it's generated, wholly generated inside AI. No, you can't trademark it, to the best of my understanding.
All right, listen, y'all. Now, I wonder, Dr. Jean, when I think about this, it's fascinating to me because we all use it so much. But do you ever think there will come a day when you go in there into AI, use one of these tools, create something amazing, it blows up into like this multi-million-dollar conglomerate, and then OpenAI come back and say we want a part of that because think about this for a second, right? When you are, let's say you were working at a job, right? And you're using their computer to do research while you're supposed to be working on your business, right? And then you create this amazing business and you quit the job and they come after you and say, listen, that was made on our job, on our computers, on our time. We want a part of that. Do you ever think there will become a time where, one of these big companies say, look, we saw what you did because we got all the data that you created, all of this content on our platform. We want a piece of that.
They can do that anyway. I mean, that's been something that businesses can and have done forever. So here's a great example. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So the dude that made Post-it notes, right?
Yeah.
Was a member of a Presbyterian church choir. And he wanted something that he could do as a bookmark in the choir book, but he wanted it something there that wouldn't damage the page of the book. So he knew that he needed an adhesive. He worked for the company 3M that makes tape.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for 3M. So he worked on this while he's doing his job. He worked on how do you make an adhesive that will stick enough to stick, but not stick enough to damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has a 3M name. It doesn't have, or Scotch or whatever it is. It doesn't have so-and-so Presbyterian church congregation sing choir singer. It has the company name. He
Wow.
developed it on company time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been going on for a long time. And I knew that. I when I left K-12 teaching and I got my doctorate, I was an educational researcher. And so I have, just like you, I have ideas all the time, but the ideas I had on the job were the jobs. They got that. I didn't get it. So if I wanted to do something new and different in education, I needed to do it on my time outside of the office walls, because then it could be mine. It wasn't done on, but I don't know what's going to happen with AI. If it's not human generated, it isn't your property. That's as easy as
So
that is.
on TikTok, there are a lot of Joe Rogan videos over there, right? Now you see his Joe Rogan's face, right? You even see his mouth moving. He's a podcaster. He's also he's the podcaster that got the $100 million deal through Spotify. So people I'm assuming they have taken his likeness and they put it over there and they tell like these really great stories about aliens and all this stuff. They're very intriguing, very well done, but it's him talking, his voice, his picture, the whole thing. That to me becomes an ethical problem because if he didn't say, okay, like you're taking his likeness, all of it, his voice, his video, everything, and you're making it say these things, how do we protect ourselves against that?
I think that's a great question. And I don't know. The part of ethical AI that I I dip my toe in and I'm teaching people about is how do you make sure that your business is being ethical?
Mm-hmm.
That's my jam. My jam is how do we ethically and responsibly integrate AI into our businesses? All the rest of it is really cool and really interesting, but I'm here with Nehemiah doing Start Lean, Finish Big, and we're going to have to tell people how we're going to protect them from people who get ticked off about something that may happen with their AI. So, how do I help small businesses from the get make sure that they're as careful as they can be so that they don't have those kinds of issues? The issues you're talking about are really cool, but I don't know about those. This is my lane. My lane is how do I help small businesses make sure that their business is as protected as it can be and still use AI? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, and that's a great segue into like what are some of the ways to do that, because I'm sure that people are already pretty much deathly afraid of AI. Now you think
Exactly.
that I'm gonna use this, but somebody may come after me. They may want to sue me or something like that. And now I'm even more
Exactly.
afraid because Dr. Jean
Even
just
more
said,
afraid.
I'm gonna put something on my website that could cause me to be sued or whatever. And I remember
No.
getting that. I remember getting a cease and desist about a picture that I think I got off of Pixabay. It was on one of my old websites, like long time ago. So when they pulled the picture up, I'm looking at it. So they're like, "Hey, you owe us $214 for using this picture." I'm like, looking at the picture. It was a very old. It was a very old website, and the picture was even old because it was way back when. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I'm not paying y'all a dime. It was on Pixabay. So I wrote back to the lawyer, like, look, if you want to go after anybody, you go after the platform that told me I could use a picture. It's
Mhm.
there, and that's why I
Mhm.
use it. But now we're talking about all this content being generated. So how do you guys give us a couple of ways that you help small businesses make sure that they are protected and they are being ethical, so they don't run into these type of issues?
I'd be happy to do that. So I'm going to start with, do you know what ethics are, Audrey? Because that's one of the things people don't even understand why they need to think about considering AI ethics as they're integrating AI.
When I
So
think
start at the beginning, right?
Yeah, because when I think about ethics, I think about just doing the right thing, doing the right thing the right way. That's what I think about. So you tell us
Exactly. That's
okay, good.
absolutely what it is. It's knowing the difference between right and wrong, choosing right. But in AI ethics or ethics as it applies to business, you also talk about whether or not it's fair or unfair, biased or unbiased, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where we begin. So we need to talk about whether or not what you're doing is fair to everybody, not just to people that may look like me or the people that may look like you or may be male or may have disabilities or may be from a different culture. Are you making sure that whatever you're developing as an AI tool is fair for everyone who uses that AI tool? So that's the first thing. And there are ways that we can test for that, which are really cool. And I really like that's my jam too. If I can make content, hear that? It's content, right?
Yeah.
Content that we can then run through an AI automated tool that says, let's look for bias, let's look for things that are
Mm.
fair or unfair. If this is the content and this is what this tool is going to be, so maybe it's a chat bot or it's a hiring tool. It may be how you store your data. Are you doing that in a way that's ethical? Ethical meaning fair and unbiased, right? So that's the first one. And the second one is transparent. Are you telling people that whatever you're using is in fact AI enabled or AI enhanced? And those people on TikTok aren't. So technically, that's unethical by the sheer definition of what ethical is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another part of the test. There are three parts. We call it the FAT test. Is it fair, unbiased? Is it transparent? That's the T. Are you telling people that you're using AI? And the A is accountability. How are you being accountable for the way that you're using that AI? So, do you have structures in place? This goes off into another direction, but I'll be right here for a moment. Do you have structures in place that prove that you're being accountable for the way that you're using the AI in your business? Do those three things make sense? Because that makes up the FAT test.
That does make sense. Now I got a question about that, because there if you look at YouTube, there are people on there who are using auto blogging tools that create like thousands of pieces of content like in 15 minutes, and they're posting them on the website. Should they be putting something on their website saying this was created by AI?
Technically, if they're being ethical, yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Technically, yes.
Interesting. Okay. Now that being said, are the search engines like flagging those type? Because I know if you go right now, I just helped someone put up a they did a journal and they didn't know how to get it on Amazon. So when I went to go, and journals are so simple. There, you don't need any AI for a journal, none at all. Which they didn't use any. They just didn't know how to get it on KDP. So I loaded it up on KDP for them. But there was a question that says, "Is any part of this book AI generated?" And I was like, "What?" Now I've been publishing on Amazon forever and a day. And I was like, "Wow, really?" But it was right there, and because it
But
was
now,
just
which part of that fat test does that which one does that fit under? Check here, is this? Because that's an ethical question. They're asking people to ethically and transparently, there's the T, right?
yeah, yeah.
Transparently acknowledge that some portion of this was created by AI.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's interesting. So when I think about that, like Amazon is already putting that in. That's it's already there. And I remember I read an article when they were saying, "Yeah, we're going to ask, but we're not going to hold it against you. We just have to ask." So I guess somewhere out there in Amazon sphere, there's a disclaimer to say parts of this book was, AI generated. When I
Right.
think about websites and I look at the people who are, and they have tons of video. Hey, you can make 1,000 blog post articles in 15 minutes. And people like, really? You can make 1,000 shorts in 15 minutes. And all of this is AI generated. So now I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, they should be putting this disclaimer. Now, let me ask you this, because now if they use this tool and then they go back and they heavily edit that piece of content, I've seen people say they do that as well. They heavily edit that piece of content. Do they still need to put a disclaimer that part of that was done with AI, even though
I
they
think it
heavily edited it?
I think it depends on how heavily they edit. You said yourself that the patent office says if they change 20% of it, it's a new item, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I have more than one tutor and more than one of my, I'm sorry, mentors in AI. And more than one of my mentors says it's about 80-20. If you get 80% from AI and 20% from you, then you can probably call it yours. Again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know
mm,
how that would shake out in court. If the language on the KDP says, is any portion of this created, then there's your answer for Amazon, right?
yeah.
So there are
And
two
I
things. There are two things. So we talked about the transparency thing because they're asking you to do a checkbox, right? So think about the other part. That means that somewhere Amazon has governance, policy, and governance around AI, which means that's the accountability piece, right?
yeah.
So they've got two of the three that are right there in that checkbox, that single checkbox. Isn't that cool?
It is cool, but what's interesting about Amazon, because I had to test it out. I was like, I need to check the box and see what happens, right? So I checked the box, and I think it said if is any part of this AI generated. I checked the box, yes, because I wanted to see what was going to happen. What was interesting about that, Amazon automatically assumed that that graphics were included as well. So if you check that box, even if it was just the content, it automatically assumed that you had automated generated graphics in that book too, right? And you couldn't go any further. Like you couldn't move to the even if you didn't have any graphics in the book that were automated generated by AI, you couldn't move to the next step. So I was like, that's interesting. So if you tick the box and one of those are there, right? You won't be able to move to the next step without saying I put images in there too, even if you did not. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So even though, so what was good for this client was that they none of it was because it was just like lines and blank pages. So that was great for them. But had they had content that was generated and no images and they ticked the box yes, they could not have moved to the next level, which I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, oh,
So
so
one of the things that's happening now is that platforms that generate AI images are beginning to embed some kind of marking that will help people know beyond that platform that that's an AI generated image.
mhm.
And so
Okay,
then Amazon is going to have to go back into their accountability, their governance piece, change that language, and then go back to their transparency piece and change the way that you move through that onboarding process, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what I do. So how do we do that? How do we develop the governance in a small business to make sure that they understand the entirety of what they're doing with the AI that they have, right?
Yeah, I can see this being really scary for small businesses because think about the solopreneurs, right? You want them
But
to
I'm
get to the
there.
level they want to get to the level where they are not necessarily big businesses, but extremely lucrative business because that's why we all do it, right? But when you start to think about all of the things that go into just the business itself, and now you're talking about all this new tech, I could see that being a little scary.
No, I'm good. Let's break it down then so that they're not afraid of that. Can we do that?
Yes, let's do it.
So, have you built a house or purchased in a neighborhood that was built from scratch or a building that was built from scratch? Anybody who lives in anything that resembles a house will understand this metaphor. Are we ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Whenever the plans were drawn up from that, they didn't decide that it was going to be like a Lego house and it's just going to be a shell, right? So,
Right.
what goes into the planning of that? And it's an honest question, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about the way that any house is built, you have to have the walls and then you have to figure out all the rest. So how are the rooms going to be divided up? And they have to be fair. How many kids do you have, Audrey? Any?
I have one.
You have one? Well, then maybe the size of the bedroom didn't matter at all. I'm one of three and I'm the oldest. Guess who got the biggest bedroom?
The oldest.
That would be me. Now, my siblings thought that was unfair for the entire time I lived at home. It's not fair. There's the fairness test, right?
Yeah.
So when you build a house, you have to think about things like that. How big's the living room going to be? How big's the kitchen going to be? Who's going to get the bigger closet in the master bedroom, right? I did that too.
Yeah, me
So,
too.
but that's the fairness test, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a small business, you need to think about the fairness test. What's that going to look like? If I'm going to have a chat bot, is that chat bot going to serve every possible customer? And if it doesn't, then you're losing money because it may not talk to one person who really wants what you sell. But as soon as they see that this isn't representing them or it's not giving them an answer that resonates with them, they're gone. They're going to go find somebody else to give their business to, right?
Yeah.
So as you continue to build your business and we continue to think about the house metaphor, so if you want your house to be safe, what are you going to do, Audrey?
You got to make sure the blueprint is strong and the foundation is strong.
Absolutely. So you want your small business to be that way too. Now I'm
Yeah.
talking about physically, what do you do in your house to make your house safe for you?
Lock the doors.
Beautiful.
Lock the doors.
There's one. What else?
Make sure that we got fire things, this extinguishers, you know, heat, all of the things that you need to make sure your house is safe and warm and livable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought you said you have a Ring. Isn't that a type of security camera?
Absolutely, I got a ring.
Absolutely. So there you go, right? Those are privacy issues. That's huge in AI. In AI, we talk about that as data privacy. How do we ensure that the information that we're collecting from that chatbot or that hiring task or whatever it is that we're building to automate something in our business, how do we make sure that that data is protected? How do we make sure that there's a lock on the door and that there's a curtain on the window? Transparency is great. We want people to see what we're doing. We want to tell them what we're doing with the AI, but we want something that's there, like a sheer, right? So it lets in the light, or a blind, it lets in the light, but it still protects our data, right? So
Yeah.
you build that in from the beginning, just like you would in a house. So if
Mm-hmm.
this is something you are already doing in a bunch of other places in your business, you have to have a bank account. What do you do to have a bank account? The bank has got to protect your data. If you're going to have my data as a small business, you better be protecting it. Otherwise, you're not going to get my data,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So all of these are just one more level of business. You're already doing a lot of it. Let's just make sure that it's done for AI. And that's how I describe it to people. When I help businesses write their governance policies around AI, it's just another layer, right?
Wow. Yeah.
How cool is that? It's not separate and scary. You're already doing these things. So let's just do one more. And you audit your book. So audit your AI. You have
Hmm.
professional development plans in place for your employees, or you require some kind of ongoing professional development. That's the same thing as accountability in AI. It's not different. It's just this is for AI instead of for your employees or your finances or whatever other processes you already have, right?
Yeah, let me ask you this. So what you're saying, does that pertain to any business? Because when I'm listening to you talk, it almost sounds like it's for businesses that are somewhat on the tech side. Like if you are creating a tool, like an AI tool or some type, I hear that part. But is that like something that works for any, like let's say a blogger? Does it work for a blogger? Those type of the governance policies and things like that, or is it for someone who has like a tool that they're developing where they're collecting information?
I think that's a great question. So, is this blogger writing their own blog, or are they a blogger who writes 20 blogs for a whole bunch of people? There's the question.
Mm, okay.
Right? If
Mm-hmm.
they're writing a blog for their own business, there could be a disclaimer at the end that says some portion of this blog was created by AI. If they choose to, it may be someday it's required. Right now, as an ethical AI user, I would want to. I sent out an email yesterday. I'm going to be at on a summit at the end of the month, and they're doing some giveaway, and the giveaway included a podcast that I had done with somebody, and so that was their hook. Dr. Jean's going to talk about blah blah blah, and that was part of the giveaway, and to get people as an early bird. So I sent it out to a bunch of people that I know in my circle who are interested in AI, and they hadn't heard this that I had done. And I said, so blah 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 blah, tilde tilde me, because that's how I sign off. And underneath I said, P.S. No part of this email was created by AI. And I did 3 little emojis that I do on everything. And people texted or email, responded to the email, and they said, I could tell that that wasn't AI because I could hear you in my head. So, and it was just blank. I'm a certified AI consultant. They all know that. They know that I do things on AI all day long. And I have one of those little things that sits inside my email that will help me generate an email. That one I did on my own. So do I need to? Probably not. If I'm in a business and I routinely respond with AI, am I going to have something in my signature line that says AI helped me? Maybe, because they need to know it's everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's a single blogger and they're doing their own thing, do they need to? It's up to them. Ethically, probably. If they don't want to, I'm not the ethics police for all of it.
Right.
So I'm not going to throw them under a bus. But if they're one of those professional bloggers who creates blogs for more than one person, do they need to? They need to let the people they're developing blogs for, I believe, from my ethical point of view, that yeah, they need to say that some portion of this was created by AI. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
That totally makes sense. I love it. I think that this is going to give people a lot to think about moving forward by how they do business, especially when they're leveraging all these, and the tools is they're becoming more smart and more, even more amazing. And especially the graphic tools, like those tools are just amazing. I think for me, I've even thought about it because I know I'm quick to make a logo. Now that the logo y'all see for Good Morning Gwinnett, I just did it. This is pretty simple. That was just me over there just putting some letters together. But I've done some amazing logos using AI. Like I did one this morning for a newsletter, and I'm like, this is gorgeous, because the tools are so amazing. So I
It
think
doesn't mean that you have to admit on your stuff that it was created with AI. I'm not going to be the AI police, but if somebody really thinks that's cool and they take that idea and they use it, it's not your intellectual property.
yeah,
And there's the fine line. You said you did Good Morning Gwinnett, and that's yours. So if somebody took that, that's yours,
yeah,
right? Because you did it. The one that you created in AI this morning
this morning.
isn't yours.
And it's
You have
gorgeous.
no intellectual property around that.
And that's crazy because it's gorgeous. I was like, I'm saying, oh, this is gorgeous. And I own nothing except for the domain name. I own the
There you
domain
go.
name.
Absolutely.
I own the
Absolutely.
domain name, but I don't own the tech that goes with that. This has been great, man. This is why these are important. When I got finished talking to Nehemiah yesterday, I was souped up, right? Because up until recently, I just did all audio. So I have over 1,000 episodes of pretty much all audio. And I have been struggling. Like, I really don't want to do video. I got to get up every day. I got to look like all bronzy and made up 4 days a week, And I'm like, so I had to talk all this stuff in my head. But after I did my interview with him yesterday, and I've done videos before, like it's not the first time. It's just for the last 5 years, it's pretty much been all audio. And but my audio company said when I came back from Podfest, we're not doing live audio anymore. I'm like, what? I'm sick because I'm like, I love doing live. So I was like, you know what, Orgy? That was a Friday. Monday morning, I was live video. I was like, you know what? Suck it up. Get up. Do what you got to do to look decent on video. Get it done. After my interview with him yesterday, I felt so pumped up. Like, okay, I know that the information that we're providing people are going to really help them.
It's
And
important.
so I
Absolutely.
feel like what you guys are doing over there at Start Lean Finish Big is just amazing. Just talking to you right now is like, man, I didn't even think about all the stuff she's saying, the way
Exactly.
she's saying it. You know what I
And
mean?
so when we take cohorts through a done with you program, then I'm the content generator. So part of what we generate is how do people think about AI from the beginning? So that's one, and we use these kinds of principles in everything that we create as a team. So I think that makes a difference. I don't know how many people are doing that right now, but I know that
Yeah.
Nehemiah and the rest of our team at Start Lean Finish Big, we are doing that. And I think that's important.
That's so cool. Listen, I gotta go to a commercial. I have to pay some bills. When I come back, I want you to give your closing remarks so people can find out how to contact you and, just something for them to think about moving forward in this space. But before we get there, I'm gonna go to a commercial. I'll be right back after this commercial, so stay tuned.
Welcome to True Blue Services, your trusted partner for top-notch electrical solutions. At True Blue, we pride ourselves on quality and reliability. With a 4-year warranty, you can rest easy knowing your electrical needs are in expert hands. Electrical vehicle charging stations, we're certified for Tesla and ChargePoint, installing thousands from top brands like Loop and Clipper Creek. Call 404-372-1916 or visit www.trueblueservicesga.com. Use promo code TRUE62.
Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, your business and technology dose every day, not every day, Monday through Thursday. Here with Dr. Jean Hess. She's about to close us out with some closing remarks and how you can also contact her.
I am. So here's what I think, Audrey. One of the things that we've talked about is, or in my opinion, I don't know a person who would buy a house that didn't have locks, that didn't have walls, that didn't have a smoke detector, that didn't have the things that would keep them safe and sound and happy in their house. I think that small businesses, as they integrate AI into their systems and their processes, need to think of it that way. AI is part of the foundation of what they do. And then the ethics around it can be built in from the very beginning. And they don't have to go back and try to figure out how to, when you have to retrofit a house, it's just a problem. So if you do it from the beginning, it's just done. And then you just audit it. You keep track of it just like you do anything else in your house or in other types of businesses. So that's what we do at Start Lean Finish Big. And we're at startleanfinishbig.com. It's that easy. And Nehemiah from your episode yesterday is the automation guy. So he puts all of that into place. I'm the content generator. So I step you through what is it that you need to know and how can we do that from the very beginning. And when you're finished with us, front end to end, from beginning to end, we'll make sure that it's A-OK fine and that you're protected. And that feels really important.
Listen, if you have not gotten anything out of this, go back and watch it again because Dr. Jean shared a lot of great information. Be sure to go to their website for more information about what they do. I mean, listen, if you missed the episode with Nehemiah yesterday, go back and watch that episode too. Then come back and watch this episode because here's the thing, y'all. We want you guys to be able to leverage these tools, but we also want to make sure that you don't get into trouble. That somewhere down the line, we don't know what's going to change. The space is growing so fast. The technology is changing so quickly. We don't know. So how about this? Build your foundation. Build your house on a solid foundation now. And if you need to go back and add some extra mortar to the pavement and the sidewalks, do that. But at least the foundation is strong. And she and her team can help you do that. So check them out. That's their website right there. See how they can help you. I've been to it's so weird because I was on the website yesterday. I didn't even know you were part of it. But that's the website.
Isn't that fun?
It is. It's crazy. Life is funny. Thank you again for being our guest today. I really appreciate everything that you've shared. I really feel like people are going to be able to take this episode and learn some of the things that they can do to make sure that they are in compliance and they are, being transparent and fair. Like I got that being fair. And it's just, listen, you don't own stuff. So know that. So me and all my beautiful logos, which I have a whole library of just beautiful logos that I don't own. How about that?
So sorry, Audrey.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me. because I'll be out there trying to fight for no reason. Like, that's mine. It's not mine. It's not mine. Not mine. So anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Jean, for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here today. And thanks, Nancy Clark, for tuning in. Thank you so much.
There's Nancy Clark. Yay, Nancy.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy, for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow with another great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you missed any episode, if you missed Nehemiah episode yesterday, go to goodmorninggwinnett.com, scrolling across the bottom. Go to the website, listen to all past episodes. It says podcast. Listen right there. If you want to win the robot, you want to be a part of the robot giveaway, you got to go in there and join the newsletter. It's called Bot Talk. If you don't join Bot Talk, you won't win the robot. And I will be giving away stuff every month moving forward. I really like that part. I'm excited about that too. I told my husband yesterday, hey, I'm giving away a robot. He said, where'd you get a robot from? Out the closet that I hid from you since Christmas. And so it was so funny. But anyway, giving away a robot at the end of this month. So in order to be in the drawing, you have to go to goodmorninggwinnett.com, subscribe to the Bot Talk newsletter, your name get entered into a drawing. I'm going to pull it out on February 29th. I'm going to tell whoever, I'm going to come on this show on February 29th and say, hey, this is the person that actually won the robot.
She's going to say Dr. Jean won it.
No, listen, I may say Dr. Jean won. I don't know. You got to be in it to win it. That's what they say in New York.
I'm going to go get in it, so I do win it.
Yes, you got to be in it to win it. So thank you so much, Dr. Jean. Enjoy the rest of your day. Listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow with another great episode. Stay safe out there. Enjoy this beautiful winter, almost spring weather. I'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m., same time, same place. Until next time, my friends, until next time, make it a great day. Bye, everybody. Bye, Dr. Jean.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
You've been watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show today and share it with your friends by going to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com.